Hi, everyone. Maybe I should get up here and grab a mic. Thank you guys for coming out to this. I'm Patton Oswalt. I live in the rafters of the New Beverly. A lot of you have heard me scuttling up there during many a double feature. This means so much to me to get to do a Q&A with Michael Sarnoski. I discovered him, I think a lot of you did, during COVID. I watched Pig on a hotel TV, and that was kind of the only way to see it, and it was fantastic, and I've been obsessed ever since. And of course, A Quiet Place, Day One was amazing, and you've just seen The Death of Robin Hood, which was incredible, and we're all looking forward to Space Jam 3 next summer. So without further ado, please welcome Michael Sarnoski, ladies and gentlemen. Why can't we go on stage? No, we use this air. Like the actual people that we are. All right. So, Michael.
Thanks for coming out, everyone.
Yeah. Oh, I'm glad to see that you're continuing your sullen bearded loner verse.
Yeah.
You're adding to it.
Yeah, there we go.
Is this on? Yeah. I'm starting to notice there are definitely themes and things that you are obsessed with, and you're very open about putting them on screen and in your stories. But just my first question is, you seem to be very, very tuned into solitude and kind of bleak, remote areas and kind of loneliness, but filmmaking, as I understand it, is a very collaborative, very connected to other people effort. So has that been a source of tension for you, or what is your filmmaking process like to capture this mood on screen?
I think that kept me away from directing for a long time, because I did assume that I wasn't the sort of social sort of person to do something like this. But partially I've loved writing and directing, because I get to go into my hermit mode for writing, and really my friends can tell you, it's don't, he's not going to respond to you for 2 months because he's writing, and I like that time. But then I think it's also healthy and fun for me to do the more social filmmaking side of it, and I think that's also been why this movie was great, because I really got to carry forward a lot of people that I'd worked with in the past, and create a little family summer camp vibe. And yeah, I'm not great with lots of people, but I've learned to not be too much of a hermit all the time.
Okay, good. But was it a weird, because you went from Pig to A Quiet Place Day One, which is a big studio film, and now I was really shocked how quick the end credits were. There were not massive digital rendering TV. It felt like a bunch of people went up into Northern Ireland and just shot what they had.
It was very much that. I mean, we shot this in 30 days in Northern Ireland. Wow. Budget was under 20 million. That sounds like a lot, but it's not a lot for what we were trying to accomplish.
Especially for what you got on screen.
Yeah, so it was, it felt very much, it was an indie film. This was, we financed this internationally, and then it very much had this kind of indie film vibe. And yeah, it felt small in a great way. It felt like everyone who was on it really gave a shit about it. Yeah, it was, I've said it before, but it was the best filmmaking experience I've had of my career.
Really?
Short career.
Wow. So this is film number 3, for God's sakes. And you really, it's kind of interesting too how you just dealt with the end of the world in A Quiet Place Day One, and now you're dealing with the end of a life. And even though it's a very tiny cast, you can feel and maybe it also because the dialogue was so evocative, but you feel the ghosts of the epics that came before these people, the killing fields they must have gone through, all these massive things. That's credit to your writing and Hugh Jackman's performance. You really feel him going back into those times,
Yeah, it's part of also why we, I don't actually love violence, but it was part of why we needed to land the violence in the first 30 minutes. It had to be oh no, we need to believe that this was this person's life for their entire life.
Yeah.
And like, it's not, it was something we learned early on, showing it to people, that like, they assumed that we were just being kind of cute about saying like he was no hero. Like they were like, oh well, he had a heart of gold, I'm sure. Like that kid had it coming. Like it was. There was a lot of that, and it was like we needed to laugh brutally and be like, no, we're not kidding. Like this guy came from a rough time and a rough life. So that then you can, I mean, the whole fun of it was to be like, how do we get from intense violence to this extremely quiet, simple ending? Like that was what always appealed to me. This is based on like an old legend, the death of Robin Hood. It's one of the earliest ballads from Robin. And the thing that always appealed to me about that was how shocking it was that like this grand man of adventure died in like a quiet, sunlit church bedroom. Like that was the thing that was jarring and interesting to me. And so I wanted to kind of dial all of that up and make it like as intense at the beginning as possible, and then come to that really simple sort of spiritual ending as well, but make it feel like there was a through line of a soul that really kind of carried us there.
Yeah, because Robin Hood there's been so many incarnations of him. There's obviously the Errol Flynn one. There's the Robin of Locksley, who's in Ivanhoe. He's almost like a side character in this massive epic. And then there's the classic, you did a really good real life version of him shooting the arrow into the woods, and that's where I will be buried. And, so this is him. That's his soul eating on that arrow.
Yeah, I still want, like, I wanted the ending to still have enough of those things, like an arrow goes out the window, he's in bed, but just a couple of the roles are switched up. There's like a famous painting of Robin leaning on Little John as he's dying, and like I just sort of switched up, he's leaning on the prioress, and then there's this kind of symbol of new life that sort of is sending his soul out the window at the end, instead of him saying, I'll be buried there, it's almost like he's passing himself on to his child, and it was just sort of like scrambling up some of those symbols.
It was also interesting how Little John makes this very clumsy, very violent, psychotic attempt to have a normal life by usurping another
Edward.
I'm sorry, Edward. Yeah. But it almost felt like that's the universe telling Robin, you can't have this. Like, no matter what you do, you can't have this life. It's not for you. You gave that up.
Yeah, I mean, that's sort of the structure of the movie, is that you establish how brutal his life was, and then he kind of finds this new life as Randolph on the Priory, but he kind of realizes like there's no version of living that life truly. Like he has to find a way to kind of integrate his past violent self and Randolph, and that's the only way to find some sort of atonement or peace or solace at the end of his life. That's the only like true end to his life that he can find. And this whole movie is kind of about him seeking out that right death. Like from the very beginning, he's trying to find his death in battle, and then the whole movie becomes this kind of journey of like him changing his definition of a right death, so that at the end he kind of gets a death that he never would have expected, maybe doesn't even deserve, but it's kind of new to him thanks to the transformation he's gone through with the prior.
What was he's giving that little girl the lie to live on about him and Little John, but then saying, don't say this to anyone else.
Yeah.
Don't let this is just for you.
Yeah.
Is that his attempt, what he thinks is atonement, or?
Yeah, I mean, it's sort of a lesson he learns earlier from the prioress that he's trying to come around to, is how, he was a storyteller. He told stories to sort of essentially like recruit child soldiers to his band of merry men to murder people and steal bread and all that stuff. And then he, like Bill Skarsgard, who played Little John, described it well. He was basically like, he was a cult leader, and then he meets another cult leader who is the prioress. But she kind of runs this commune where she uses stories to heal people, to help people. And she has that line where she says, knives cut bread as well as they do flesh. So like, basically what he kind of learns is that, he thought stories were these weapons, these tools for evil, because that's what he used them for. And he sees this opportunity for the first time to sort of use them to help people. So that kind of final scene is him sort of taking her lesson and using it to help little Margaret, who's been struggling with understanding, like, wait a minute, my dad was Edward, and he was this like nice, God-fearing farmer, and then for the last few weeks of his life, he turned into like a psycho monster, and people called him Little John, and like this child is trying to like understand the two sides of her father, and this is sort of Robin's attempt by using a story to sort of like help her understand that, but also understand why she can't tell anyone about it, because she'll get killed in the eyes.
I love the echoes, the scene on the beach with the young boy, the echoes with the scene in Pig in the restaurant, where he's basically deconstructing what you can kill this kid if you want. This is what your life will become. I'm gonna lay it all out for you. and give you this choice. It was very, were you conscious of that when you were writing that scene? Like, oh, this is gonna evoke that, because that scene is quoted. I
completely see that now that you're saying it. I wasn't, I mean, I love.
I won! All right, another director down.
But you're totally right. Like, I think I naturally like enjoy those scenes that feel very simple, where it's all sort of laid bare, and you can just sort of watch these two characters go at it in that way. And we couldn't have done it without. I mean, Noah Jupe plays Arthur / Godwin, and I was like really lucky to get him on this movie. He's the best.
Again, you did this in your last two films. You always have this scene that we've all seen a million times, that we almost have in our heads that, oh, here's how it'll go, and then you completely subvert the expectations and make it even more memorable. Like, you think that, again, the scene in Pig, Nicolas Cage is not attacking that chef. He's trying to help him, but he has to destroy him to help him.
Yeah.
And this guy, Robin's trying to help this kid, but he has to kind of unravel his fantasies of revenge to help him.
Yeah.
Like, there's hurt in it. There's hurt, and which kind of parallels with what Jodie Comer's doing when she has to help him by cutting him. You know, so
bloodletting. I don't know, like that was a real way that people treated people to balance out the humors, but you can go a little too far. It turns out you need most of your blood. In case anyone missed that.
Yeah. How hard did you guys live shooting this thing in 30 days? I mean, it looked like you could feel the environment on the actors' faces.
Yeah, I mean, quite literally, we were burying Hugh's face in sheep shit mud. It was.
And he's a workhorse. Like, he'll be out there doing multiple takes covered in mud. Like, let's do it again.
Yeah, well, it was pretty brutal. I mean, in amazing ways. Like, Northern Ireland is incredible. We couldn't have shot it anywhere else, because within like an hour and a half of Belfast, you could get all of these different locations, like these barren moor mountains, these beautiful North Coast views, but it was, we shot it February, March in Northern Ireland, which is freezing cold, and like the week before we shot it, it had a record-breaking windstorm, and like half of our locations got blown out, so we had to redo our whole schedule and then spend a month carving roads through trees that had all fallen down, just so we could like access our locations. And then like all those farm action scenes, like all the action scenes pretty much take place on Little John's farm, and we built that farm just in the middle of a big field, like salvaged wood and all this cool stuff. And the night that we were shooting those action scenes, we shot all of these scenes on the farm, all of them, including the action scenes and the quiet scenes, in 3 days. So we didn't have a lot of time.
3 days?
Yeah, so each of those action scenes was like an evening, which we couldn't have done without Hugh being just like a pro with action scenes, and we just planned the shit out of them. But when we got there to shoot the action scene with like the torch thrown into the thing, it just started pouring rain. So the entire field flooded and became like a foot deep of mud. And so we just kind of leaned into it, and we were just like, okay, we're just burying Hugh's face in like a foot of mud. But he said that it was the hardest day of shooting he's ever had on any movie he's done.
And were you also fighting to keep, because that is a real fire happening in the background. So you're like, we got to shoot this before this thing collapses and we lose this amazing background.
So that was how we designed it, was that, so I don't like CG fire. It just never quite looked right to me. So I really wanted to have a real burning hut. But we designed it so it could fake burn for like 15 minutes at a time. So we built the roof out of steel, and we built it modularly, so as the fire gets bigger, we could actually take pieces of steel off, and then the fire could grow, and we had other gas lines. But it could only run for like 15 minutes, and then the steel would start like melting, and then the real thing would catch on fire, and then it would burn down. That was
racing against the clock.
No, it was, and then every time you had to redo it, you had to spend half an hour like rewadding it and letting like the lines cool so that they do. Like, it was a whole thing. But I mean, it was so worth it. It was one of those magical things where like you get there, it starts pouring rain, it's so muddy, and then you see the reflections of that fire in all the mud, and you're like, this is kind of perfect. Like, I'm glad we did the fire. I'm glad it rained all over us. Like, this is the way to do it. Yeah.
I just imagine Hugh out there covered in mud in a windstorm going, Ryan Reynolds is probably doing a rom-com. The hell did I sign up for this thing for?
He's everyone knows he's the nicest guy, but he'll always say like, oh, I got really pissy on set that day. And his version of pissy is just like, oh, I'm so sorry, could you just give me a minute? I can't move my neck right now. Just 1 second. Like that's his version of pissy. It was amazing.
Now, are you, because I can already see the rewatches of this movie and analytical videos, this is my second time seeing it, and there is a sense of, does Robin die in that battle and the island is purgatory where he's slowly stripping away? Because it does feel like all of his old ghosts are coming to this island, and he's been given these tests. Do you kill this kid? Do you let him go? Is Jodie this vision? Like, is she an amalgamation of every weeping woman whose suitor he killed in the past, and now he's got to somehow do right by her?
I'll take that. Yeah. Maybe.
Aren't you glad you guys came to this?
It's definitely a new life that he gets there. It's a different life.
And you did the aspect ratio changes.
Yeah. Which a lot of people don't notice, but they thankfully have these amazing masks here that they could change it halfway through, which was cool, because it otherwise, like, a lot of people like miss it, which I'm always interested by, because it's a pretty, it goes from like 239 to 166 as he's going to the Priory, which was a really early idea with Pat Scola, the cinematographer who I've worked with on all my movies, and I love very much. But yeah, figuring out how we were going to do that and sort of bury it was a trick.
Pat Scola really understands mist.
Yeah.
And darkness and gloom, man. That guy.
Yeah, no, he knows how to do that. The mist, I have to take the blame for a little bit, because he was like, "Are you sure, man? Like, that's a lot of fog in this one." I was like, "No, I need more fog." I don't regret any of that. I don't regret any of this in this movie.
And then, were there scenes that you shot that didn't make the movie?
The crazy thing is, this was like a 94-page script. And the director's cut, like, which people think a director's cut means like that's the cut, like that just means like my first pass after the assembly, basically. That was like 2 hours and 40 minutes. So there's like a lot of other scenes in this movie. It's a weird script that way, where it was like pretty sparse, but still like there's just a lot there. Like there's a lot more, like, I mean, this is the version that I want people to see, but there are definitely like other scenes that deal with the backstories of some of those characters and all that. But it felt like this was the right amount.
Wow. So, and then how you conceived it, you were getting ready to do Quiet Place, and then was this an idea that kind of nagged at you for a long time, or on during your life?
I mean, I had loved Robin since I was a little kid, and I was exposed to the death of Robin Hood legend when I was like 10, and it just like stuck hard with me. Like, it was like, wait, what? Like, he just dies like slowly bleeding, and so I'd always known that I was like interested in exploring it. I think there was something about having done Pig and then getting some like studio offers and things like that, where it was like, okay, now I might be moving into another world with doing the studio movie. I want to like take a crack at that thing that's always been kind of in the back of my mind since I was a kid. And I wrote the vomit draft. I like to do like a really rough vomit pass, and I wrote it in like a month and a half before I had to dive into Quiet Place. Like, I had this little chunk of time, so I wrote it kind of like, maybe put it aside to be like, okay, I wrote it, now I can stop thinking about it, put it in a drawer. Like, of course, of another Robin Hood movie is a dumb idea. But then I wrote it and just kind of fell in love with it, and I was like, oh, I really want to tell this story. So I was kind of working on it in the background through Quiet Place and editing the script. And then I was working with Aaron Ryder and Ramagata Makala on it as producers, and they were some of the first producers I met in like Generals after Pig, and I was just like, these guys are great. And then we just, I basically wrote it on spec, and then we pre-sold it, and then went out and shot it. Like we were scouting like a month after Quiet Place released, and then we just dove right into it. I haven't
30 days later, you have all the. That's insane.
Yeah, it was crazy. It was crazy, but just.
And Hugh was a producer. The materials they sent me. He came on kind of early. Was really.
Yeah. Well, I mean, like we pre-sold it at Cannes off of me, the script, and Hugh, and it was kind of like, he was really like once he, I mean, actors, they the worst. They take like months. Like, you can send a script to an actor and they'll take months to read it. Hugh read this in like 2 days, and we were meeting at a bar in New York like that week. Like, it was one of those magical kind of like, oh, this just feels right. This is happening.
He's just a pro.
Yeah.
I love, by the way, I'm about to open up to questions, but really quickly, there's so many details I love about this movie. I love the fact that the first killer doesn't realize that she's sleeping in a grave that he pre-dug for her.
Yeah.
Because he's so used to people coming to kill him that he's like, better get another grave dug. It's like Joe Pesci in Casino, like just have the hole ready. I also love that his early costume design, it didn't feel like camouflage to me. It almost felt like pieces of clothing of people he had killed over his, and like gathering them on like what's that carapace crab?
Oh yeah, that like
puts the
builds
dead,
itself,
yeah, that's what it felt like.
It is that, like, if you look, it has, so he has this sort of big bear cloak, but there are like some stitchings of like fine cloth in there, as if like he used stuff from the people that he killed to just kind of patch up his little weird ogre hermit cloak.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
man.
That thing weighed like 100 pounds. It was
Really?
insane. Yeah. The cloak that in that scene with the elder father, the guy with the mace that almost kills him. That guy, that was actually an actor from a scene that was cut from Five Place Day One, and I love working with him so much, Clive Russell, that I cast him as the elder father. But he's 79 years old. He's this like older Scottish guy, and his cloak was like an actual bear skin that weighed 100 pounds. And he was just like, and it was like muddy, and he was slipping everywhere. Like, we nearly killed that man. I remember him like sitting down.
Clive Russell's a force of nature.
He was amazing. He
Yeah.
was great. And he was like, get through the legs, Michael. Like that. It's like, we kind of maybe made like a fake bear cloak.
Wow.
But next time.
Yeah. Well, I can't wait to eat out of the bear cloak popcorn bucket this summer. Very excited. So let's open it up to questions. I know that's the new Beverly, so we got the, you were the first guy to go up. You're next. Go ahead.
Hi, Michael. My name is Thomas. It's very nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm just curious, as you mentioned, you've worked with Pat School on every project. What's your process when you're crafting a visual language?
Yeah, I mean, it starts with, so if anyone, what's the process with Pat Scola for crafting the visual language of the films? So I met him on Pig. Everyone assumes we like went to film school together, but we just met on like a general before Pig. I never went to film school. I have no idea what I'm doing. I've never been on any professional sets besides my own. When I did Pig, that was like my first professional set ever. I didn't know what an AD did. It was crazy. So Pat has like taught me a lot. And our process is we get a bottle of wine and we sit down and we talk about the script. That's step
Ozu,
one.
baby. That's
Yeah.
the Ozu method.
And then we just shot list the whole thing from beginning to end in order. Like, we end up with a spiral bound book of just every shot that we're gonna have in the movie, which ends up being like, I'd say like 95% what we end up doing. Like so we do that, really talk about all those scenes. This was probably our longest process, shot listing, because all the other movies I've done are pretty linear, like A to B, you don't return to a lot of locations, but this one's a little more cyclical, so we had to figure out like, okay, how are we gonna go back to that bedchamber and make it feel different and reflect the scene every time? So that took a lot of wine and shot listing. So we spent a lot of time on that. And yeah, it's just talking and thinking about what we're trying to communicate. And we just have a really good shorthand with each other. So we don't do like a lot of storyboarding because we kind of do a lot of hand motions and nods, and we're like, oh, I know what you mean, yeah. But that's just like from time working together. And yeah, and then we just go, I don't do a lot of rehearsals on set. We do like a sort of a run through with the actors, do a little blocking thing, and that's when we basically like throw out our shot list when we get to set because we remember it pretty well. And that's when if there's like a new shot that we see in the action that's interesting, we'll sort of pursue that. But yeah, we're pretty specific, and we don't do a lot of like coverage or multi-cam stuff. It's pretty much one camera, don't do a lot of takes, which is why film is kind of perfect for this. But yeah, I mean, it's not that, just, wine and talking. That's all.
Well, Michael, this is an intervention because the wine is really getting out of hand.
Yeah.
And so we all got together. We're very worried. We love you. All right, right here.
So Pat mentioned a bit about how like there is a lot of overlap with the films. Like obviously, I think when I think of is how Hugh looks very similar to how Nick did in Pig. And then I don't know, I'm just saying this because I know it's going to be your next project, but a lot of shots and set pieces kind of remind me a lot of Death Stranding. And I'm just curious, like as you're making your films, what's like intentionally like, oh, I kind of like calling back this thing, or what's also just like subconsciously you do something and then Pat mentions it and then you're like, oh yeah, oh yeah, I didn't think of that question.
Like half and half, probably. About. I mean, it's like certainly I'm fascinated by nature. Like that is like I think I'm fascinated by the sort of like brutality, but also sort of transcendent side of nature. And like in Pig, that's kind of like what truffles are all about. They're these things that like dig out of the ground, and then they also are part of this like cuisine that like changes people's lives, and there's this person that like has this deep respect for them, but also sort of knows the nitty gritty that goes into them, and like I think that's just a thing I love. I guess I love like Santa or something. I don't know. I mean, I think I like people that feel like they're sort of spiritually dead before they're actually dead. Like I think we all go through phases where we sort of feel like we've had everything that like life has to offer, and it's time to just be a hermit, whether it's like literal or sort of, I don't know, just like you just like, even in small ways, you're just like, okay, like I sort of like, I guess I pursued that dream, and like this is about what I'm gonna hit, so I'm happy with that little part of my life. And we find ways to kind of like deaden ourselves, and so I like sort of hermits and people that have removed themselves from society, and I like exploring if there are ways for them to grow and connect with other people while still not ignoring the sort of thing that drove them away and that sort of made them, traumatize them. So I don't know, I think it's just something that I find interesting. But yeah, I mean, there are lots of things. Like clearly I like animals, I like food, I like nature. Those are a lot of things that you like can't lie about on screen. So I like those things.
Wow. Yes, right there.
Hello, loved the film, really,
Thank you.
really fantastic, I thought it looked amazing. Greek tragedy deals a lot with the endless cycle of violence. I'm thinking of like Aeschylus's Oresteia, and like, can we break that cycle of violence? Is it truly endless? Like, how do we do that if it is breakable? And I thought it was striking that he's passing so much of himself onto this kid, but he also has a lot of self-hatred as he's reckoning with all the terrible things that he's done. How do you see him breaking the cycle of violence, passing these, like, how do you kind of square him passing on parts of himself and personality to the person?
Yeah, I mean, I think some of that's sort of up for debate. Like even for me, I think there's an element of there's an attempt to break the cycle of violence. I don't know if you can 100% do that, but you can certainly become more aware of it and more aware of the power that we have over it. Like just because it's maybe not something that can ever be totally broken doesn't mean we don't have a responsibility to try or to educate ourselves on that. So, I think it gets into that question of like, is this a story about like redemption or atonement? And there's like a slight difference between those two things. I'm not, like, I wouldn't 100% say like, oh yeah, he's broken the cycle of violence, but certainly in his own life, he's tried to find some sort of peace, and with the people around him, tried to give them the strength to at least keep fighting the good fight.
That's a really good question, because, yeah, and I noticed that there's a lot of like, worlds have now died. Can you now live in this world that's not going to be the world that you remember?
Yeah.
That line from Adam Arkin near the end of Big, where it's like, you're better off up in the woods, there's nothing left out here, man.
Yeah.
Or that very, if you haven't seen it, the startling final shot of Quiet Place, where it's a character deciding, I did what I could, can't live in this world. Like that shot was insane. Loved it. So,
I like
yeah.
that shot.
And then of course this, which is way more poetic, but still that.
Less monsters, literally.
Yes, literally less monsters. Yeah.
No aliens at all.
Right there.
So the popular image of Robin Hood, when you think about it, you think about the Disney adaptation, you think about Robin Hood.
That is pin on it.
Right here.
Yeah, you think about Robin Hood Men in Tights or whatever, right? When you were writing this, were you worried about any pushback or like against the idea of kind of turning back that image and portraying this legend in a more uncommercial, brutal way?
Yeah, I mean, like, I was aware of that. I try to, like, become aware of those things, put them in a box, and then not worry about them, because, like, there's only so much control you have over that. And I felt like, as long as I could do justice to sort of the version of Robin that lives inside of me and that I'm interested in, and I'm not, like, trying to be cynical about the character, or I'm not trying to subvert him just for the sake of subverting him, I was just kind of like, people are going to have their own relationship with this character. I don't totally have control over that, but also, like, I tried to honor, like really the modern understanding of Robin is a more recent understanding of that character. Like that, like the original ballads of Robin are really brutal. The earliest mentions of him are can be quite critical. And then if you think about how those came out only 300 years after maybe he even existed, you trace back okay, what might have been the original stories here? Like it's, you know, they didn't have, like, the Stilton Rich Give to the Poor, the Crusades, Richard the Lionheart, like, all that stuff was added hundreds of years later. Like, the earliest Robin was just kind of like a whimsical, brutal, mischiefy guy who, like, had some morals and some rules and codes to live by, but, like, those were probably the part that were added on to teach kids lessons. So if you really sort of boil it down to like what kind of person might this have been based on, and just think about what might the life of this sort of medieval outlaw have been like, this is not, I'm not saying this is like the true version of Robin Hood, but it's not far off from what it might have been. And so like, yeah, a lot of the things that we're attached to are later constructions that we've sort of added to that story. And then, you know, I hope if people have a problem with that, they sort of think about why they have a problem with that, and like why this character means a lot to me. And yeah, I think people should wonder why they get so protective with their heroes and they don't like, you know, questioning things about them.
All right, right there.
I was just wondering if you've seen Robin Mary.
So I made a deal with myself when I was writing this script. I was researching Robin, and like that was not a movie of my generation, so I did not even know about it.
And wasn't that originally called The Death of Robin?
Yeah, it was originally called The Death of Robin, and they were like, oh, it's too dark for a movie name. But like, but they, I chose to not watch it throughout the making of this, and I kind of made a deal with myself that I'm going to watch it once we release this movie, because I didn't want to be influenced by it at all, because I know that's the only other movie that really like takes a crack at this story. But I've been told that they're quite different as far as the films go beyond the sort of basic inspiration of the story.
As far as the music goes, was it immediate while you're scripting this to have something intentional where you're going towards using some of the folk elements and almost like the minstrel, almost like your version of Alan Adale, you know, you're using songs like that.
Yeah.
Was that intentional from minute one, and also did that kind of influence the way you pictured the score too, and how that laid in as well?
Yeah, yes and yes. So like a lot of the actual songs in there are like old folk songs, and some of those are like in the script, like early English folk songs. And yeah, when I was looking for a composer for this, I knew I wanted someone that sort of came from that folky Celtic scene, but like without it feeling too gimmicky. And I was just listening to like a lot of folk music, like modern folk music, and I stumbled across this guy Jim Geddy, who had never done a score before, and he was just this Sheffield-based musician, and I just like reached out to him on Instagram and I was like, hey man, like, would you want to make like a score for a movie? And he was like, oh geez man, I don't know. But we paired him with this guy Tony Lewis, this great music editor who works in like all Ridley Scott stuff, and yeah, Jim just killed it. Like he just really, like I think a lot of people who are just like musicians don't understand sort of like the pacing that's required for doing a movie score, but it came really naturally to him, and then really just like working really openly with him and working with his music editor, we just kind of shaped it. But I loved his music because it had that folky edge, but it didn't feel like nostalgic or gimmicky. It was like very much his own thing, and like he's very into sort of like continuing the lineage of folk music without feeling like he's trying to harken back to something. He's just trying to get to something very essential. So that was like a really fun process to sort of like work with someone who, you know, just was discovering this as we were.
It also had that great ancient primal feel to it.
Yeah.
My brother was pointing out at the end, it's like there's like strains of like Scarborough Fair and Greensleeves.
Yeah.
So it's like there's a continuation of all of those songs that are just like almost in our DNA. You
Yeah.
can't not put those elements in the song when you're doing it. It's
Yeah.
really interesting.
Check out Jim Geddy's music. His albums are great.
Wow. We had one in the middle right there, and this will be our last one. I'll let you go. So right in the middle.
It's a very basic question. It's just straightforward. So you said the first time you were on the set was Pig. How the hell did you get that name?
Easy question. Messily and slowly and just by sort of not taking no for an answer. Like it was, I had just gotten a manager, and then my manager was basically like, hey, if you have a script, I can show it to people. And so I eventually wrote Pig. I wrote another script, and we were like, oh, this is too weird. So we did another one, and then that was Pig. And you know, we showed it to 10 production companies. 9 of them were like, what the fuck is this? One of them was like, this is my kind of weird, I'm into it. So you just have to find that like one company or person that's gonna back you. And then it kind of snowballed from there. It was like, then we found another company that wanted to get involved, and then Endeavor got involved, and they had just signed Nick, Nick Cage, and then he read it and was like, I really want to do this, and then it became, oh wow, we have a real actor on this. Because originally when I wrote Pig, I wrote it to like potentially be something I could shoot for like 100K guerrilla style and just like give it a go and shoot it with like no-name actors. So that's why I wrote it all around Portland, because I could just like go up there and sleep on friends' couches and like make a movie. And then it kind of like naturally snowballed as more people got interested. And then the other thing is I would just like, the producer and I would head up to Portland on our own dime and just like scout and meet local crew people, so that by the time the financiers were trying to pull money out of it, we were like, no, but look at all the locations we found, and we found the line producer. And they would be like, oh, I mean, I guess, like, you've already kind of like started the movie. Like, it was just this kind of like constantly trying to push forward, and then just like getting those very few but powerful yeses along the way. And it was also just super lucky, and I think also like writing something that no one else knew what to do with, so like there was never really a moment where they were like, well, this has gotten too big for you, like you can't direct it anymore, like you wrote it, now we have to give it to a real director, because I think everyone was just kind of like, we don't even know, like you're the only person who's gonna make this movie, right? So I mean, it was sort of a miracle, but every movie is.
Yeah, write something and start showing it around, guys. Just be relentless.
Yeah.
Be relentless, man. Michael Sarnoski, ladies and gentlemen.
June 19th.
June, oh my gosh, it's this Friday.
Yeah.
So spread the
Let's
word.
see it again.
So people see this in the theater with a crowd. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.